And welcome to Islandish Podcast. We are here with episode 49 with none other than Terrance Roberts III. He is the managing director at Berkshire Farms right here in Freeport, Grand Bahama. And we're going to dive into a deep depth conversation about agriculture, small island sustainability, as well as developing niche markets in our country. Terrance, happy to have you.
Thanks
Clap
for
it up,
having
clap it
me.
up, clap
Thanks
it
for
up.
having me. Good
Yes,
evening.
it's a pleasure to have you here. We know each other from a long time.
Right,
From
right.
before all us was professionals and grown. So I have to say I am very proud and happy for you with Berkshire Farms.
Thank
It
you.
is something that Grand Bahama needed for a very long time. But let's start all the way from the beginning. Because do you have a degree in agriculture? How did you even get into this field or get introduced to it initially?
It's always interesting when people ask me this question. My background, I have 2 bachelor's degrees in finance and computer information systems.
Wow, nothing
So
to do with the
nothing to
earth.
do with agriculture. But to keep a long story short, the way it happened, it was really a faith journey. I call it my come to Jesus moment. And that's, those kind of moments where God humbles you to seek his face. So there were a number of things going on in my life at the time, at work, relationships, family, and I got an injury and I was out of work for about 2 months. And during that period, I, almost went into a dark place, but it's kind of like where I met with God. And a few months later, he had me in Exuma visiting a family member who owns a restaurant off of Stalking Island called Chat and Chill.
Okay.
And during that period, it was like, well, I never got a chance to experience it. So I said, well, let me spend some time and go there. And during that period, he said, well, let's stop to the farm in preparation for this. And I'm like, I don't go outside.
Okay, yeah.
Farm,
City boy.
right? So, and working in IT, I'm always in AC, hardly outside. But at this point, it just clicked because he was pretty much preparing his own food for his restaurant experience. So that's where that economics 101, that clicked, just supply and demand. And when I saw what he was doing, I just imagined if he could do this on a small key off of Great Exuma, imagine what we could do here in Grand Bahama. But the timing with that was so interesting because that was early 2019. And during that time, I was still working at the Grand Bahama Port Authority, so licensing and all of that. So I just went to them, started putting in my applications, and the SBDC started rolling out their first set of cohorts.
At that
so
time.
I just happened to see it. So it's like, well, but these things are happening around you, and you don't realize that this is part of God's plan.
Yeah.
So with all that happening, a few months later, we went through the whole process of business planning and having everything investment ready.
Okay, so you applied to SBDC.
I applied through that program, but back then, that's early 2019, they used to have the sit-down classrooms.
Right,
so you go into
correct.
class and go through the processes, and then they match you with an advisor. So we went through that whole program. Shout out to Kayleen Newton. She was my first advisor, very helpful.
Awesome woman.
Yes. So our plan was to start out with pigs. And the reason for pigs was, I'm thinking the money, right?
Yeah.
Running the numbers. A lot of people eat pork, and with pigs, the gestation period and turnover is very quick. So let's just say, for example, every sow would give on average 10 piglets per litter.
Okay.
And the gestation period is only 3 months, 3 weeks, 3 days.
Okay.
So imagine just having, say, 10 sows at a time. Every 4 months, you have 100 piglets.
Yeah.
So, just looking at it from that angle, and they could grow to about 250 pounds in about 6 months or so.
That's a lot of meat.
Right, we started running the numbers like this makes sense. And we went with the name Berkshire Bahamas Farms because the Berkshire breed of pig has the highest quality pork. So it's like the Wagyu of pork. So in Japan, they call it kurabuta. So with all that being said, we planned it all out, and the goal was to get our first set of pigs in September 2019.
Yeah.
And
Understood.
of course, September 1st, Hurricane Dorian.
Correct.
And then months later, COVID.
Yeah.
So during that period, so we've been licensed for 7 years. We started it 7 years ago, but it's almost just like a 4-year-old business because of that period.
Right.
But looking at it from that perspective, when they say you want to be really good or hone your craft, you spend about 10,000 hours. And I was able to spend all that time during COVID and
that was your
Hurricane
incubator
Dorian. That was my
season.
incubator season.
Okay.
And right after that, I was never into content creation or anything, but I realized I got to share this information.
Yeah.
So part of marketing and understanding how to run a business the right way, I use those tools, social media, just to try to make a connection. And I mean, not after a long period, products started getting into the food stores. Then you have these high-end restaurants reaching out because they understand the quality of the pig.
Right.
And just relationships. And that's what's so important. When you meet people, you realize how can what you do help what I do, and that's how the economy works. So in short, that's how we got started, and a lot has happened since then.
Yeah, you've really grown into not even just the pigs, because you said that's what you started in.
Right,
So
right.
now let's talk about what you guys currently do, or what you currently offer as a
Right.
business right now.
So Berkshire Bahamas Farms was really Berkshire Bahamas Investments, and the farm is just one aspect of it.
Okay.
So we focus on livestock and agriculture. So what we consider our pillars to success would be education, community, and the use of technology. And we realized that in the Bahamas, we're really taught that farming and agriculture is like the same thing, which
Right.
it's not.
No.
You know, agriculture is the umbrella, farming is just one aspect. So I found myself becoming more of a teacher, you know,
Yes.
educating people on how food works, sustainability, and just going back to where it all started for me, a faith-based journey. Because even a few years in, I heard from God, clear as day, don't go back on the job in 2025. And that was the first time I ever had that kind of experience. So just to know that God is guiding me to do these things, it means so much, because like when you actually walk out in faith, you give up control, you surrender all to him.
Which could be scary sometimes.
It is very scary, but I mean, when you start to realize, okay, well, I've accomplished this, I've done that, why am I still being fearful of, you know? So I mean, you're still human, you have that grace, but with all that being said, we have come pretty far now where we focus on pigs. We've introduced chickens, so we're one of the main egg producers on the island as well. So we have brown egg layers, and we're big on agritourism now as well. So this is where we start to partner with chefs. So we had an event with Chef Simeon Hall, January this year, Pentaplate, along with Harold Pinder and some other chefs on the island. And just creating those experiences, those authentic experiences where, like when you think about it in the Bahamas, where can you go and say, I'm on a farm and eating the product from the farm from a five-star chef, you know, that kind of thing.
Yes.
You know, so having those types of experiences in a niche market, you know, because agriculture isn't one that's really respected in the community. And that's what we're trying to do now. We're trying to change the stigma. You know, even sometimes you go, it's like, well, what does a farmer look like? Do I look like a farmer?
You typically don't. You're not the average on the island farmer. You don't really look like one, but...
And then at the end of the day, you can be in different industries, but it's how you carry yourself.
Right.
And what we really want to do is to change that stigma, make it more attractive. So when we talk about agriculture and not just farming, you want to look at it from different angles. Like, we have a cotton plant on the farm.
Really?
So as soon as we start our tours, that's one of the first things you would see as you're going through that gate to get to the animal housing areas. So as soon as you see that, we'd be like, well, this is cotton. So you wear a cotton shirt, where does that come from? This is a part of it. So like I said, we go back, we have a scripture on our store wall, Genesis 2:15, that said, God put the man in the Garden of Eden to work it and care for it. And what that means to us, that's a daily reminder of stewardship. Because God has given us all of this. Even like when we talk about, you know, this is our home, Grand Bahama, the Bahamas, and we look at how the economy runs and operates, how many of us are owners in the land where we born, bred, cadet?
Right.
So those are the kind of things that we look at. And if we really understand stewardship, this was given to us.
Yeah.
So this is like our birthright. So what are we going to do with what we have?
Right.
So that's where we look at also sustainability practices. So look at climate smart initiatives, waste to energy initiatives. So that's something that we're rolling out now. So we could talk a little bit about that as well. But even when we travel, the first thing you see in the airports in the US or even on the Balearia when you hop on the boat, you have those recycle bins.
Yes.
Where on island do you see recycle bins where it says separate this from that? But everything is just compiled, goes to the landfill, and as that breaks down, that greenhouse gas, that methane, is affecting the ozone layer.
Yeah.
So we're finding different ways we can say, okay, let's separate this waste. Maybe we can turn this into mulch. Maybe we can turn this into compost. This can actually be turned into renewable energy that can be used for cooking gas, for energy, whatever else it may be. So it's just trying to find different ways to steward what we've been given. And it's been a pretty interesting and fun journey while doing this. So for me, it's not like dirty work.
Right.
You know, you just find different areas where you can even clean up.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. I love that. So you
Mhm.
mentioned the pigs, you mentioned the cotton. I know you'll also have eggs, the chicken
Mhm.
eggs, but you also
Mhm.
have quail eggs.
But we haven't started the quail yet.
You haven't started the eggs as yet.
The quail, not the quail yet.
Mm-hmm.
But we have the chicken eggs. Yeah.
Okay.
So those are it's your different breeds of hen that give you different types of eggs. So the brown layers, those would be the Isa Browns, or what we call, right, the breed we have right now, the Tetra Browns.
Okay.
And that's one of those things when we talk about education.
Mm-hmm.
When we think about where our food comes from,
Right.
the majority of our food comes from America.
Mm-hmm.
And even when we
Imported.
think about what's imported, over 90% of our food is imported.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that tell us? We aren't able to feed ourselves.
Right.
And then imagine you have a COVID-19 or something happening, that borders are shut down, you don't have access to it. What happens?
Yeah.
But also taking it a step further, when you put certain things into your body, do you know where it comes from? Do you know how this product from this animal was handled? What was the animal eating? What environment? Was the animal stressed? Was the animal sick?
Mm-hmm.
And then there are also instances where some of the food that's imported is stamped for export only. So that also tells you, like, well, we don't want this stuff, but we can ship it to yours.
Right.
And then you start looking at, well, the rate of cancer and other illnesses in our community is based on what we put in our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to be mindful of what are we consuming, even what you're putting on your skin, clogging your pores, so on and so forth. So all of that really comes from the agriculture industry.
Right.
And we just have to be able to see it and say, well, okay, these are things that we need. What does it take to grow it? Who can we partner with to make our costs lower?
Mm-hmm.
And how can we be sustainable with providing this for our community? And then also understanding your market. You know, some people might not want this. Some people might be more price conscious and not health conscious. So who are you servicing?
Right.
So we just have to find those ways of how to run the business a certain way. But it's very interesting, and we're trying to make it as attractive and bring others along, because it's a big feat.
Yeah, that's another thing I was going to mention. It seems like it's not your typical small business initiative, like running a professional services or doing retail. Agriculture, it seems like it's a longer process. It, of course, requires a bigger investment and a lot of hands-on management. So for someone from IT to now turn into this steward of the land, it's very interesting, and it's an interesting journey. How are you enjoying it so far?
So I'm really enjoying it because, like I say, for me, my background isn't in agriculture.
Right.
So it's like a learning process every day. And then even being able to look back. So I probably got over 25,000 photos and videos in my phone. I can just look back and be like, well, this is what this area looked like in 2019. Look at where it was 2 years later, look at how it looks now. And then the different projects that we're working on. And what I'm so grateful for, that I don't know if many people realize, that in the country, and even those who are partners in our country and trying to help develop, there are a lot of access to funding.
Yeah.
So, you know, for me, because of my background with business, IT, and finance, I enjoy putting together a plan. I love development. So for me right now, a project we're working on that we're almost completed with is a biodigestion and farm to table kitchen project. So what we're doing now with the biodigester, that's where we take the animal waste and convert it into energy. And through an anaerobic process, this is all the science stuff that I've learned over the past few years, you're pretty much just putting it into a system where the heat
that generates
from it causes the liquids and the gases to separate. The liquid being one product, which is a biofertilizer, and the gas being
something that
you can use for your kitchen. Or even if engines or whatever are designed to handle that, you can also like generate power.
Yeah.
But for us right now, we'll be creating a circular experience where guests can come and say, okay, let's go down this trail. Let me show you the chickens. Let me show you the pigs, whatever else is in this area. Let's talk about how they produce this. Okay, go inside the coop, grab this basket, get a few eggs, take it back to the kitchen. Let's whip up some breakfast.
Yeah.
You know, or there's some mint over here. There's some limes over there. Grab those. We got some Bahamian rum from the distillery. Let's make a mojito.
Yeah,
right? So you have those kinds of experience that, where do you go other than, or what farm can you go to right now to say, this was grown here. I can see the environment this was raised. I feel like I could trust this.
Right.
Versus, okay, we're inside this room and they just serving us this stuff. Where did this come from? How long was this on the shelf? How long did it take to ship from wherever it came from?
To here.
Is it fresh?
And how long it take you to put it on my plate?
Right. And then the waste from it can be either fed back to the animals or fed into the biodigester to continue that renewable energy process. So, I'm just looking at it from different vantage points where you create experiences. And most times when people want to have a worthwhile or impactful experience, it has to have some food or beverage, or you want to touch the five senses. So look, feel, smell, taste. So we want to create that kind of experience. And I think one of the most enjoyable ones for me now is my wife is now entering into the environment with agritherapy. So she's a recreational therapist. She specializes with kids on the spectrum, persons with disabilities, older adults. And even when we think about the rate of autism in our community these days, we need to understand how to be more inclusive.
Yes.
So even with that, I've learned a lot from her, just understanding her area, because, growing up, people can be so mean.
Yeah.
But now, just because someone is different, how can we still live in harmony with them in our community? So even with that, we look at it from an angle of they're just different based on how they grow, how they develop, how they think. So put them in an environment where they can stimulate differently.
Right.
So we're just trying different things like that, because at the end of the day, even stewarding what you have, the earth and its natural state is therapeutic. So even when you think about older adults, a lot of them going back to the garden now.
Right.
That's their thing. They want to be out in the yard. They want to be in the dirt. And then it's even that sense of accomplishment, like, hey, I plant this thing and now I could go eat this.
Yes.
You know, like we grew some guavas the other day I got from an 80-year-old friend. And it's interesting because now in business and you're growing, you start to become more friends with older people, wisdom, right? You try to get that wisdom. And this one lady who's been very close to me during this journey as well, Baby Johnson, she gave me this guava tree and she would never let me pay for it. And it's like, but it's still a business. Let me give you something. No. And we just harvested our first set of guavas and the guavas almost the size of my hand.
Love that.
And to just go out there, pick that and taste that, you just have that kind of experience where it's like, you're really in touch with, and then there are these sayings. And when you hear cliche terms, you realize that it wouldn't be cliche if it wasn't true.
Right.
So when they say, he who feeds you controls you, or you are what you eat, that's when you start thinking back to those basics. So,
or teach a man how to fish. Type of phrases.
Right.
Right.
And it's just those kind of things that I experience in this industry and through this journey where, it's so important to educate the community. And then, of course, at the end of the day, you still have to make money.
Right.
So as you're going through that process, the best way to do it is to give an experience, to teach somebody something, and they walk away with something like, well, I just learned something today.
Yeah, and that's awesome. That's amazing. That's amazing. So let's take our first commercial break, and then when we come back, we're going to dive into the many different ways Berkshire is impacting the Grand Bahama community.
Put your brand in front of thousands across the Bahamas. Advertise with superior talk. Choose the package that fits your budget. We have weekly packages starting as low as $75 for basic, up to $350 for our premium package. Get 24/7 exposure, reach your target audience, and see real results. Call 242-352-8255 or WhatsApp 375-8255 today for the superior experience.
Hey, what's happening? It's your boy Mitch from Off the Bench. And guess what? I'm superior.
That's right, you're back to Islandish Podcast. Make sure you are subscribing to the Superior Talk Network so you can catch Islandish every Thursday, and you can catch our other shows that air throughout the entire week. Make sure you're following us on Facebook and Instagram so you can stay in the know and remain superior. Now, Mr. Roberts, you talked a lot about the different systems, and you also spoke about the something to energy.
Waste to
energy product. Now, what I want to know is what are some of the collaborative ways or ways that Berkshire Farm is giving back and impacting the Grand Bahama community?
Yes, a good question. Like I said, what we consider our pillars to success would be education and community use of technology, but community is so important. So when we talk about sustainability projects or even like repurposing waste.
Right.
So, a lot of things just go to the landfill. And when you think about even what you have in your home, as you just, okay, you just ate this, you throw it away, this from the restroom goes all in one bag, goes outside. They're not separating that stuff when it gets to the landfill.
Right.
So we also have relationships even with some of the larger companies on the island because they have certain goals, sustainable goals that they want to meet. So right now we have a relationship with, for a few years, with the brewery. So twice a week, every Thursday, every Tuesday and Thursday, we get a truckload of spent grain.
Oh,
So
nice.
when you think about the malt and the beers and all that they're producing there, just like you have some tea, you brew that, or you brew some coffee, you just throw away the grain.
The tea bag, yeah.
Right? But what's left over is that wheat, the hops, the barley, all that would have been spent. So they press it to get everything they need out of it, and then what's left is still a natural product.
Okay.
So instead of that going to the landfill, when you think about that, to go to the landfill, you got to pay by the pound or by the load. So for them, they have that experience where they say, okay, you know what, let's drop it off to the farm. That can be a byproduct or supplemental feed for the animals.
Right.
And then when that stuff breaks down, you're also enriching soil.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of projects that we're working on. And even for us, like anything we grow on the farm, we don't have to buy soil because we're making it.
Right.
Excuse me, because anything that comes from the earth goes back to it.
Right, right.
So we have that relationship with Bahamian Brewery. And then even with that, any event that we do, we also try to pair the pork and the beer. And those go very well together. So
Yes.
we do a pig roast and we make sure, like the last pig we did, we injected it with sans beer.
Yes.
Right, so
that
you get
was
that
super
nice
good.
juicy flavor. Yep, so we try to do that. With soyas, we used to do that a lot as well. We're trying to get more grocery stores on board. Because even if you go shopping someday, you see some of the guys in the produce aisle just with a box and just taking all the wilted leaves and whatever else, and that stuff is just going into a compactor, going to the landfill. And for us, it's like, how do we help them understand that this could be repurposed?
Yes.
You know, a lot of people even do composting because even when people talk about our soils in Grand Bahama, it's a lot of calcium, it's a lot of limestone.
Right.
So it's difficult to grow certain things. But at the end of the day, there are ways that you can enrich your soil, enhance it, but build up.
Yes.
You know, so composting is helpful, just taking those wastes. So
And
we've
converting
done
into
quite a bit of
something.
that with some grocery stores, Tyler's, Express Food Mart, certain restaurants who would purchase some of our product.
Right.
And even just this week, I connected with a neighbor farm, Francis Fresh Farms.
Okay,
and
nice.
they're doing container farming.
Oh.
And imagine you're inside a room that's controlled, temperature controlled. You have grow lights and all the technology right in there, and that you can grow crop all year round. So even with them, it's like, okay, how do we work our brands?
Yes.
You know, if we're a trusted brand, how can we help you get out there? So, okay, we're gonna use your product in our meals on the farm.
Right.
And then whatever waste you have from there, they start dropping that stuff off. So that's a little extra treat for the chickens or the pigs. And then most recently, we've also started a relationship with Celebration Key.
Love that.
So a lot of their kitchen waste
Because I know they have a
come
lot.
down. You can imagine you have thousands of people out there daily. And what's so cool about what they're doing sustainably, they have an area just for all recyclables.
Nice.
So if any trash is compiled, they have this area where they're separating everything, and then they're also being able to take all the biodegradable products and turn that into some type of mulch that can enrich soils as well. So we're just working those kind of relationships, and they also have a coffee ground initiative. So imagine the tons of coffee grounds that they're getting from off the cruise ships and on site,
Right.
which can also enrich soil. So we're just trying our best to connect with them, but I think the most impactful one is the youth.
Yes.
So we do school tours on a regular basis, especially summer breaks.
Yes.
We have a lot of summer camps, so they've been coming out to us. And we've also started a agricultural program, a youth empowerment program through agriculture. And we've started last year with Mary Star to Sea.
Nice.
So they brought their eco club. See, I think we have 3 or 4 eco clubs on the island, and we need to push more because they need to know how they're fed, how this works. And you don't have, every child is not academically inclined or athletically inclined. So you have different extracurricular activities they can be
Yeah, the
involved
technical
in.
courses.
So we've started that with that group. And I mean, those kids, they came up very enthusiastic. Or even some, you would have some little cute girls come up there and it's like, oh, that
wanna
stinks.
touch that. Yeah.
But after they get involved, it's like, oh, give me that shovel, let me go get that.
Right.
Or let me go catch this chicken. And I think one of the coolest projects that we've done this year was we separated 10 hens and a rooster. And we went through that process of incubation. So we have an incubator, and they made sure those hens were with that rooster for a few weeks. So any egg that they would lay after that few weeks would be a fertilized egg. So then they came, we documented it all, put it in the incubator, set the timer, which controls all the humidity and the heat inside it. And it would just act as what a hen would do. So we'd roll the eggs, keep that constant temperature. And within 18 to 21 days, we start hatching chicks. So that was something that I can see that they were really proud of. To say, we were able to do something that you don't do on a regular basis.
That'd be a cool science project, I just saying. And to piggyback off of that, I remember, and I'm not sure if St. George's still does it. I remember when we were enrolled there, they had an agriculture department, and they used to have a pig on site. And they used to grow the pig from the beginning of the school year or at some point in the school year. And then they had to slaughter it as part of their final whatever. So I don't know if they still do that, but that's an amazing thing to reignite that program with the government school program, because I know they had agriculture at all the government
I know they
schools.
still have it, and those are things that need to come back. And that's one of the things that we talk about, because it becomes some frustrations when the community doesn't understand first to even say, well, we respect the industry. It's just like, and some kids get teased like, oh, you're not playing in the dirt today or whatever, right? But then what happens is when you have some fruit that's harvested, it's like, oh, give me some of that. Oh, I want this juice. Oh, I want that, right?
Girls was in the classes crying because they hearing the pig squealing. I didn't cry, I was a thug. But later on, when they had to cook it, and then you smell the grill, and it's like, oh, it's free food. Nah.
Exactly.
Now you're only playing in the dirt. Now everybody wants some food.
Right, and that's just the process. So that's where we need to educate. So, I mean, of course, in some fields, you will get dirty. Some days you're doing content outside. One day you might get a little sweaty. I mean, it's a part of it. You can still bathe and wash up. So, there's so many different aspects, but we think it's important that we get the youth involved. And then what they do, they go home, they're excited about it, tell their parents, and now they're starting to shift the culture in their home.
Right.
So you want to have those kind of projects happening.
I love that you said that, especially about shifting the culture. So I'm going to try to ask you a question that I think you could help some of our viewers with. Shout out to my mommy, because I know you watching. What are some tips for persons who have their own farm at home, who are trying to grow crops or do certain things in terms of, a lot of persons are getting into that, like how you mentioned during COVID and after Dorian, a lot of people are getting into trying to grow their own farms at home. Right. So what are one or two tips that people could do at home based on your expertise running a farm?
I think some of the most important things in anything we do is to educate ourselves on how it's designed to work.
Right.
Because what you also have in some areas is, let's say, for example, some people get fruit from the food store and they say, well, let me save these seeds to grow it. But understand a lot of these things are also being genetically modified. Right. So we need to know where these seeds are coming from. Even what I want to get into very soon is like grafting and air layering. Yes. Because you already have fruit-bearing trees. So instead of having to go that next 15 years to wait for this thing to come, we could put this down in 18 months for bearing fruit the next season or so. Right. So those are some of those things. And also understanding the soils. And these are some of the relations that we're trying to push forward with, for example, UB. Yes. We want to work with them to see, okay, what can we do in terms of soil testing? Yes. Or like, what's the pH of this biofertilizer? Yeah. How can we use this for this crop? Or how does it work to even grow your grass or to keep certain things going? Or
why one area could grow certain things on the same island, but another area can't.
But understanding that, like I said, you are what you eat. So let's just say, for example, this is one thing I always say when we do our tours. Let's just say you eat chicken. All right, and you see the chicken out there free ranging, so the chicken eating the grass. So, okay, you eat chicken, chicken eats grass. What does the grass eat? And sometimes we don't go that basic or to the root. Right. So how are plants fed? Through their roots. All right, so what you want to do is you have to feed the soil. You're not necessarily feeding the plant. Right. So then you feed the soil, and then the plant feeds from that. And as it feeds from that, you have to remember that each plant, just like human beings, we're all living organisms. We have certain nutritional requirements. So let's say, for example, I'm anemic. So I have an iron deficiency. So I need to consume more iron. But if you don't, then you don't. Right. So same as the plant. So if this plant needs more calcium, we have to feed the soil calcium. Right. So we need to know the nutritional requirements for these plants for them to grow well. Because you might have some, this coconut tree growing every year, but this mango ain't doing nothing. Right. They have different nutritional requirements.
Needs, right. Yeah. So that makes sense. Because I just want to know why every time I go and ask my mommy, she always needs to buy more soil. And I feel like, but soil don't move. So why you always need more? But I guess, like you say, the plants are eating
But
it.
it's also what you're feeding it, because
Right.
then the soil could also be stripped from certain nutrients that you need to add to it.
Okay, good
So
point.
that's why composting is so important. And simple things we could do in our backyard. So you're making some breakfast, some dinner, you're cutting up all your herbs and your seasonings, whatever pieces you want to use, and even like fish,
Yeah.
the guts from your fish, your chicken, all that. You could dig a little hole in your yard and throw that stuff inside to cover it up, and that'll break down over time. What some people even do around some of their trees, their fruit trees, they would dig a hole next to it, and they would just keep adding waste to that. And then you start realizing how much is coming from it. And I don't know if you ever heard, a lot of people even say, you see them bananas growing by the cesspit?
Yeah,
You see why they're so sweet?
Yeah.
That's because they're being fed.
Got you, got you. All right,
Whatever
okay.
nutrients you eat is going into it. So
That makes perfect sense. Okay, so now we ain't encouraging y'all to do certain things y'all ain't supposed to be doing in your yards, especially persons who renting. But it is important, like you say, to know where your food is coming from. And I'm happy that you mentioned the fact that 90% of our food is imported. And we have a lot of people in our communities who are trying to promote sustainability and people to do things at home. Now let's get back to Berkshire Farms. You mentioned the pen to plate events. And there are many different types of events that you guys collaborate with. So what are some things you would like to venture into that you guys haven't done yet? I'm doing this for my views because I know some of y'all like to collaborate and know where you could fit in with a business. So what are some things, you mentioned some of the things you guys want to do in the future, but in terms of collaborations and stuff, what are you looking for in the
So we
community?
are big on collaboration, even just from a sense of, this is my area that I have expertise in, but I'm not a content creator.
Right.
I'm not a project manager or, promotions. I don't do that
Event
stuff. So
planning and all
event
that.
planning. So if you work well in that space and I work well in this space, how can we work together to see something that the community needs?
Right.
There are a lot of things that there aren't that much for kids to do.
Right.
So we want to create spaces for kids. Even look at, let's just say example, like let's compare Grand Bahama to Nassau. Nassau, New Providence, there's a lot happening on a regular basis. And there's a lot that we can do, but it's just that we're not coming together to see these things through. One thing that I really do miss is culinary fusion.
Yes, that used to be so good.
And I mean, I don't want to give out all my ideas.
Of course, of
Because there
course.
are a number of things that we really wish to do and we're planning and working towards. But even if there's anyone watching or gonna end up watching this, we're interested in collaborating with people who want to create experiences.
Yeah.
We did Pen to Plate, that was a park event. And because we have 15 acres.
Yeah.
So what's really being used right now is about 3 acres. So we have a lot of room for expansion. So we have recently spoken to someone who's starting a shrimp farm.
Nice.
So it's like, well, why don't we do some shrimp event? People like shrimp.
I love me some shrimp.
Right? What kind of different things you could do, and that's where you partner with the chefs. Because I mean, when you see what Chef Simeon
and Harold
and Jamie, Roxy, all these different chefs were able to come up with, it's like, this was a really amazing experience. And what I think was very cool about how it was curated was it was only for a certain amount of people. So it keeps that mystique to it, like, I want to catch the next one. How do I make sure I get to be a part of this next thing? And at the end of the day, like, farming is good, it's amazing, but it's expensive.
Yeah.
So let's just say, for example, we raise animals. You got to feed animals. But when you, in the US, you're driving down I-95, you just see a bunch of cornfields.
Yeah.
So, and that happens for miles and miles and state lines, right? But that's one of the main ingredients in animal feed. So it's difficult to say, okay, I'm going to feed my animals a consistent grain to keep, because like chickens, for example, they're very finicky animals. So they need to have access to a certain diet on a regular basis.
I did not know that.
If it gets too hot, the chicken stop laying. If it gets too cold, the chicken stop laying. If the coop get wet, the coop too dry. If too much noise,
they from Freeport, they bougie.
and you just have to keep a certain consistency for them. So for us, we have to get creative with how we do things. So that's why those relationships were getting scrapped, but you got to keep it consistent for the chickens at least. But for us right now, we got a feed bill of almost $10,000 a month, just importing feed.
Wow.
So we have to find ways to cut some of that cost. But even so, if that's what it costs for that, we need to be able to generate enough revenue in other areas that could feed that.
That's the economics and you're talking.
Right. So for me right now, we're trying to connect with those in the community, different partnerships. We can say, okay, we need to have one really good event every quarter. And then some smaller events just to keep things flowing every month.
Okay.
And then tourist activity bodies. So, imagine Pilates on the farm.
That'd be so nice.
It's just so many
goat
different.
yoga.
Yeah, but I mean, you can just do anything with nature, glamping, So, and then when you start looking into the Airbnb, not just the hosting side, but you have the Airbnb experiences side.
Yeah.
So that's one of those things too that we would like to encourage Bahamians is own some land.
Yeah.
When
That's
you
the
got
one thing that ain't gonna ever go out of style.
and when
owning
you got
land.
land, you got a lot that you could do with it.
Right.
And that's where even you can say, okay, look, I got the land. What could you bring to the land that could generate some revenue for both of us?
Stewardship.
Yeah. And I mean, not only that, for me, we have a lot of people who are stuck in this mentality of, oh, it has to be mine.
Right.
I remember growing up, once you get your driver's license, you get your car, you want to see who name on the disc. They removed that now, right? But I remember like most of my friends like, oh yeah, I want my name on that. But you're too young to have that insurance at a certain premium, so it's going to cost you more just for that. So that whole mindset of it has to be mine, they need to know it's mine, we need to have that mindset shift to say, okay, instead of me having 100% of an idea that's not going anywhere,
right.
What if I get 1% of a multi-million-dollar
event or
business,
idea?
So how can we share it and I just have a stake in it? So when you start looking at, okay, you do this, I have no idea how that works, but I got the space, I have a brand that people trust or follow, how can we bring something together that the economy can enjoy? Or we can start doing enough to keep the money at home and sharing the money around.
Right.
That's really how an economy thrives.
Right.
But we quick to say, well, let's go out, let's go away, let's go do this, let's get the money out here.
Right.
We got to keep it there circulating. So
yeah. Someone told me to ask you this because they saw I was interviewing you, so I think your answer can be no. They were asking if you ever sell any of the baby pigs, like children like pets.
So the answer is not no. And because I'm being recorded.
right.
I'm just kidding. But in Freeport, we have zoning.
Right.
So when we think about the different islands, this is the only city or space that is properly designed.
Yes.
Which is a benefit.
Right.
So you have residential areas, you have commercial areas. So farm animals are not allowed in residential areas.
Y'all had that right.
Now, if you live outside of this Freeport area, fine, you can buy a pig and get it. I mean, you can buy a pig, I don't know what you do with it when you get it.
Right.
But, we also want to educate people on how to do it because you have a lot of people who see something, they want to get involved, and then they take the animal home and the animal dies because they don't know what to do with now. Oh, I can't eat pig no more because I killed it.
Or it get too big and now
and then you don't realize
it.
because I had enough questions. Oh, I want a mini pig. What is a mini pig?
There's no such thing.
This animal keeps eating. This animal is going to grow. I've seen 1,000-pound animals. Like,
wow.
These animals
You have some huge pigs on that. And I know we can get deep with this, but I can't imagine. I don't know. See, I love pork. I love pork. Oh, that's something I'm trying to deal with my diet, but I love pork. But it's just trying to imagine how something that big ends up being a strip of bacon. You know what I mean? And going through that entire process. So do you all handle the entire slaughtering process?
So what we call it farrow to finish.
Okay.
So farrowing would be the mating, the breeding process, and then of course finishing. So you breed them, you say, okay, this is a good boar to go this sow, she'll give enough, so on and so forth. And you even have to see like if that mother's a good mother or not, because you have some. I mean, it's very interesting when you spend time with these animals and then you start to realize, when we were taught about vertebrates and invertebrates, they consider us animals.
Right.
Yeah, we're very similar.
Yeah.
So you have some that aren't good mothers, some that are. So you want to make sure you have the right stock, the ones that breed well.
I really want you to break down how could a pig be a bad mother, like by not nursing or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, let me not just blame the animal.
Okay.
Because even like in our society, it's not just the person, it's the environment as well. So we've had a situation early on where we had a group of pigs together. We had a boy in that pen, and we didn't realize one of the sows was pregnant.
Oh, okay.
And she gave birth in that pen, but she was continuously harassed by the boar. So by the time she gave birth, she was kind of frantic. She was stressed. She was she pretty much went into depression. And you would see like this animal, you could see the pupils just dilated. It's like this animal is stressed.
Yeah.
And she's killing a piglet. She doesn't want to feed them.
Oh.
And then you realize, okay, these animals need to be in a comfortable environment for productivity. Just like us human beings, how are we going to be productive if we're stressed?
Yeah.
So you need to be in a comfortable environment. So you got to separate them, make sure they have everything they need, they cool, they calm, collected. And when they go through that birth process, you can even go in there and pet some of them sometimes.
Right.
But some of them, and which is also good, you have some mothers that they don't even want you around.
Right.
So either way, you have different situations that we've seen, and you want to treat the animals well. So we have a philosophy of happy until harvest as well. But to get back to the flower to finish part, we raise them we up to finishing, depending on what a customer wants, because you also have some customers who want a suckling pig. So that's a small pig.
Yeah.
And the younger it is, the more tender the meat is. So you do that. And then we have some that we call party pigs. So those are the ones that are between 50 to 75 pounds.
Okay.
Those are the ones for the pig roast. So you want to have a party.
The
that's
big
the
events.
But now when you have the large animals, 300, 400 pound pig, those are the ones where you're breaking them down to have all your pork chops, your ribs. So we go through the whole process. We'd separate the animal, prepare it for inspection. That's one of the main things. We have a relationship with the Department of Environmental Health Services. So they come out and make sure this animal is safe to be consumed.
Okay.
Right, because we don't want nobody say, oh,
They
I
get
had this
sick.
pork.
Right.
No, they have a record that this animal is safe. It's okay.
Right.
Go check the records. But we try to do everything to be compliant.
Right.
So we go through that process. And when it's time to eviscerate the animal, pigs are designed exactly how humans are designed. But you can see the ribs, the belly, you can see the different parts. And that's where we, like, if you want to do a smoke, you do like the shoulders or the butts.
Right.
Because those parts, they need more time to get tender. Because when you think about it, the animal's walking around, so those would be more muscular
parts
right?
of the
So
body.
it'd be thicker. So it takes more time for that to break down and render. But the areas where you get the bacon, that's the belly.
Yes,
so that's where that fat is. So we haven't started any type of processing of meat like hams or bacons yet. But we do have some people, like, I'm pretty sure Harold has gotten some belly from us before and done his own bacon. We have a few people who have tried it. And then I know Chef Simeon, he's been talking for a while, like, you got to do some hams, prepare these hams for Christmas and Thanksgiving. So, of course, you need to get to a certain point where you could provide volume.
Yeah.
So.
Because ham is very popular in the Christmas season.
And that's one of those things. I even had a customer come and say, hey, we need some pigtails. So it's like, so we're not at that point of volume yet because every pig has
one tail, right?
So in order for me to get you on 10 tails, I got to harvest 10 pigs.
Right.
But I just harvesting pigs with tails.
Right.
So we have to, work it until we get to that point. So like I say, it's still a small business with regard to that. And even when we think about farms in different areas, because right now I have a mentor who's Trinidadian.
Okay.
And we were talking last week about scaling. And he was like, okay, so the size of your farm is what, 15 acres? Oh, that's a small farm. In the Bahamas, that's a lot of space.
Yeah.
But when you travel, like hundreds of acres, thousands of acres, they're doing all types of
I watch Yellowstone, you see, so I know.
That's a good show. That's a good show. That's a good show.
So when I watch that and you hear them talk about like bull raising and dealing with those, and having all of this land that they have to monitor, that just be like, I can be gone for a couple of months.
Yeah. You ever watch Queen Sugar?
No, I need to watch that next day.
Check that out. And that thing, they focus on like sugar cane. So, and these are the kind of things when you think about the different areas or spin-offs from farming, like that's how you make rums.
Yeah.
So they use people looking for cane. Like we should have sugarcane farms. We should have.
Yeah, we used the rum capital. Sugarcane needs to be our industry. That's a good point.
There's so much that we can do. It's just seeing it and understand, okay, if you take this, it can turn into that. Oh, I use this every day. I need that. And sometimes I take it back to tourism being our number one industry.
Right. It distracts us from a lot of other industries.
That's not a bad thing. That's a really good thing. And even when you think about how some other Caribbean countries might see us as Bahamians, they see us as a rich nation. And it's really because of our proximity as well. So it's not our fault, but how do we take advantage of what's been given to us? Stewardship, right? So with our proximity to America, it helps us with tourism. See, when we think about the whole thing with Celebration Key,
right?
They didn't just say, oh, we want to go to Freeport.
No.
This could have been called something else, but we go in there because it costs us less to drive these boats there.
Right, very true.
So this is going to be a stop. So almost anybody who's going to celebration or carnival right now, they stop in celebration fee because that's just one extra stop. Or they replace the stop with that because of proximity. So how do we understand our tourism market, but pair it with agriculture and everything else? Because everything that we eat, everything that we serve, well, not everything, but the majority of it doesn't come from here.
Right.
So how can we start to develop more things here, become more self-sufficient and sustainable? And when we see agriculture for what it is, agriculture is $1 trillion industry.
It is. It is. And a nation that could feed themselves, you end up saving a lot of money as well.
Of course. And I mean, you provide jobs, and that's one of the most difficult things for us. Because I mean, I've gotten some flack when they see Filipino workers or Haitian workers on the farm. And I had this one guy literally cuss me out, like, oh, you don't care about Bahamians? And it's like, do you know what it takes to get a Bahamian to do this kind of work?
Yeah, boy.
And then even if you do get them to work, you know they want to be paid.
To be in the sun.
And be cleaning after animals or whatever else. So, you know, we want to, like I say, change that stigma and just try to find different ways to make it more attractive or for people to understand, okay, sometimes you got to get dirty to get to this point.
Yep.
But, you know, you got to eat, and this is where it comes from.
I love it. I love it. This is a very humbling conversation. I'm really enjoying it. I think it's time for our next commercial break, and then we come back. We're going to wrap this up by talking about one of the biggest things we love to talk about that comes directly from a farm, eggs. So y'all keep it locked right here.
Need fast, affordable advertising that gets results? Superior Talk has the perfect daily package for you. Starting at just $25 up to $100, reach thousands across the Bahamas with 24-hour exposure, targeted marketing, and multi-platform promotion. Call 242-352-8255 or WhatsApp 375-8255 today for the superior experience.
Hi, I'm Haley, and let's say what's going on at Soccer Pink Ball today. We have the gun range. We have the shooting cars. We have mini golf. Hole in one! We have the sniper tower. I'm having a blast! So come on down to Sniper Paintball every Saturday and Sunday. You're gonna love it.
And welcome back to Islandish Podcast, where we're wrapping up this amazing conversation. But make sure you're following Islandish 242 on all of your social media platforms so you can stay in the know. And if you want to get in the chair and be interviewed, reach out to us at islandish242@gmail.com. I'd be happy to help you. Now let's get back to the conversation. So there was a point in time, I feel like egg prices regulate a little bit now. Well, kind of, sort of. It comes and goes, right? But you have become the guy, whereas I look forward to your egg flyer because I have to put it in a group with my family members. And there's like, you ain't put the flyer in. He ain't doing no eggs today. I say, but if I don't get the flyer, then he ain't doing it. So talk a little bit about, especially the brown eggs that you have, because I know you gave me an excellent explanation when I was at the farm. So give that to my viewers in terms of the difference between the brown eggs that you harvest and the ones that are in the store.
You got to come to the farm for that information. But like you say, it's all about education.
Right.
And there are a lot of things that we just don't know about our food. So let's just say essentially the color of the egg is based on genetics.
Okay.
So if a hen is brown, you may get a brown egg.
Yeah.
Hen is white, you get a white egg, but that's just more simpler terms. But you have different breeds that would give you like pink eggs, blue eggs, green eggs. They call those Easter eggers. So you have different types, different breeds. Even there's a certain type of bird that give you copper-colored eggs, copper marans.
Nice. That's cute.
And then you even have some that give you black eggs. It's just the shell. But at the end of the day, what's on the inside is all the same. And when we do our tour, especially with the youth, we always say, well, if we all different shades of brown, what's on the inside was different. You know? So it's pretty much the same as just the color of the eggshell.
Right.
Yeah, but when we think about where our food comes from, the majority of it comes from America. America focuses on marketing.
Yeah.
So I like to go with this one with the kids. I say, well, who likes Burger King? They raise their hand. Okay, you like Wendy's? Yeah, okay. What about McDonald's? And as we go through that process, I say now, have you ever gone to any of those restaurants and your burger or your sandwich looks like the photo on the menu? And it's like, and that's marketing.
Yeah.
And the whole point of that is because we are taught to eat with our eyes first.
Yeah.
So when you eat with your eyes first, you now are, I'm trying to find the best word to say it, we're programmed that it has to look a certain way for it to
Taste
be
good.
edible or taste good.
Right.
When that's not the way it was really designed.
Okay.
And then even when you start going to the grocery stores, you see the brown eggs and what they labeled as organic.
Yeah.
And then do we understand what organic means? So, you just go through all these different explanations of how food is. I just watched this thing on Instagram today where this guy was saying, the USDA, that's the United States Department of Agriculture, they control what's organic.
Right.
So if you want to call your product certified organic, you have to pay for that license to be called organic.
Also, I paying to be organic. Okay.
Yeah, but what does organic really mean? So a lot of these words are being changed now because you even have some people say, okay, I got cage-free eggs or free-range eggs, but in these factory farms, they get to go outside for a couple minutes, come
And
back
now you
inside.
get to call it
but they get to
free-range.
say that, or because they're not in cages, or they're cage-free. But it's really about what the animal is eating that would really consider it as natural or organic. It's not genetically modified.
Right.
So, but when they market a brown egg as organic, we are now conditioned to believe that the brown eggs are the superior eggs. These are the better eggs. But we have a white hen, we have brown hens, they eat the same stuff, the egg tastes the same. The only difference is the color based on the genetics of the bird, which can also give you a larger egg, a smaller egg, so on and so forth. But the taste of what's inside is all based on what they eat. So there's that in terms of the eggs. But now what you touched on, how a lot of times you don't realize how important or valuable something is until you don't have access to it.
Right.
And that's just life in general. But 2025, I think that would have been some point from January, February until about May that we had an egg shortage. And all of that was because of our main supplier. America had an experience with the avian flu. So a lot of birds being wiped out, diseases or whatever. And for a farmer, you still got to feed these animals every day. And in order to really make profit, you need volume. So if their numbers are being cut short, the prices got to go up.
Right.
So eggs in the food store, like $15 a dozen, $14 a dozen, and you getting these little peewee eggs.
Right.
And interestingly, when a hen just starts laying eggs, you get those small eggs that we call peewee eggs.
Okay.
And those were the size of the eggs you get in the food store. But the birds that we have, they produce like extra large eggs. Sometimes in the regular size egg cartons, the carton can't close properly because the eggs are so large. And even some of the restaurants that we get our eggs, they would say, well, boy, what I'm getting from the food store, I could use 2 of those eggs and 1 of your eggs replaces,
Both of them,
compares to that size or that amount that they're able to get. So, we found that at the end of the day, you understand who your customer is.
Right.
But we're still grateful for that moment because it kind of helped put us on the map.
It did.
Even to the point I'm dropping my son to school and it's like, hey, Eggman. And it's like, and I look around like, what are they talking to? You mean Eggman?
Like,
But,
don't style me, but
everywhere I go, hey, Eggman, that's the mom with the eggs. So, that's a part of it. But we had to get to the point where we were only producing so many eggs a day.
Right.
And our store opens at 8:30 every day, Monday through Saturday. And we were having customers lined off from where our sign is. So that's a few thousand feet from our entrance. So cars lined off and first come, first serve. And
I remember you had to put a limit. It's like, hey, you only get a certain
because
amount.
there's a point where it's like, look, if you come here and you realize you can't get many eggs, I need 30 dozen. It's like,
I can't give you 30
how
dozen
eggs.
eggs.
And then it even got to a point where some business owners we were working with, I had to say, look, during this period, I can't sell wholesale eggs. So I hope you understand. And most understood, but there was some, it's like they cut me off after that because, you messing with our menu.
Right.
But for me, I got to run a business too. So if I letting all my eggs go at a wholesale price, that don't help me.
Yeah.
So, but what we didn't do is lower our price. So at the time, my eggs were $7.50 and we kept it at that price. Because, some people, they're quick to gouge. Okay, if it's $15 in the store, you're going to 12. But we kept it at $7.50, and we pretty much grew an even better customer base where, you know, when you try something better, you realize, okay, I could taste the difference.
You really could taste the difference. I could vouch for that with your eggs. I didn't go there to buy them, but I was by someone, is like, yeah, just come from up by Terrance and get some eggs. I say, oh, these some here. I look at him, I say, these big, but he said, yeah, but these be big. He said, me and you are going to have to share one. And I thought he was joking, but then by the time they cook it and all that stuff I need, I say, that one egg spread little big.
Yeah, and see, even with that, the eggs that you get, they got to travel. And another thing that we aren't taught, and I usually go through this on a tour as well, so get the rest of this when you come for the tour.
Right.
So when you get eggs in the food store, when you get them, where you put them?
I put them in the fridge.
Why?
Because I need them to last. I need them to last a while till I go to school again. So about a month.
But why do they put them in the fridge at the food store?
So they can stay good, right?
But a lot of things we do just because what we've been taught or what we see. But when we understand how chickens produce eggs, so for one, I always tell the kids, well, you know, a hen doesn't lay eggs for breakfast. You know, we just want them for breakfast.
That's true.
But a hen lays eggs for reproduction. And in order for that embryo, that fetus to develop inside that egg, it has to be within certain conditions. So when a hen lays an egg, she lays a bloom. So that's like a clear coat that protects and pretty much clogs all of the pores. So eggshells, when you look at an eggshell again, they're very porous, just like our skin. So what they do, they leave a bloom on it, and that stops it protects it from external contaminants and bacteria from entering that egg.
Okay.
Right? So when you start traveling and you talk to people from different, especially like the eastern side of the world,
yes,
they don't wash their eggs.
No, they
don't. So
don't.
when they collect their eggs, they keep them fresh on their counter. But in America and this western side of the world, we wash our eggs.
Yeah,
because why? Optics. So with a hen, they have one exit called a vent. So everything that excretes from their body comes out as one vent.
Oh,
so the egg comes out that hole, the other stuff come out the same hole. But that's just what it is. We love eggs, we like bacon, we like to bake. And when you think about that period, you had a lot of people who were cooking, baking, pastries, and on the holiday time, you have a lot of that stuff happening, so everybody need eggs.
Right.
But we don't realize when there's a shortage how important eggs are a staple.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that. So when we start to express this, you realize that, okay, when a hen lays that egg, that bloom is intact. But because of optics and for it to be more appetizing, if I sell you an egg, a little bit of, you know, flake or something on it.
Yeah, I can be mad.
And I had customers looking at what you trying to do? You trying to kill me?
Yeah,
And it's
look
like,
at the egg, look at that.
but a lot of people, even now they understand that they want their eggs unwashed because it stays fresh longer. So what happens is when you wash the egg, for it to look good, you wash it off that protective coat.
Gotcha.
So the bloom is no longer there. And with that now, they need to be refrigerated because why were refrigerators and freezers created?
To store.
But let me take you back to the Bible. And, you know, when Moses was leading the Israelites out of Egypt, how did they survive? Manna. And when we say the Our Father prayer, we say, give us this day our daily bread, which is the manna. So every day God provides something fresh for you. But now we've decided, okay, we want to preserve this. We want to add these different chemicals into this so it could last longer. And then if I keep this long, I know I can eat tomorrow instead of what is the God going to provide for me tomorrow, however that works. But with that, in our food, when you start adding preservatives and you start to you adjust the way it was designed.
The chemical makeup.
So you now wash that off. Now you have to refrigerate it.
Yeah.
And germs and bacteria don't thrive under a certain temperature.
Right.
So that's why you have to refrigerate eggs. But if you don't wash them and you leave them the way they were designed to be, they can stay fresh on your counter at room temperature, not this summer heat. But at room temperature, they can last weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And then if you put them in the refrigerator, they can last months.
Wow.
And the thing about it is, if you crack open a fresh egg that was just laid, you would see how plump it is. Like all the yolk and the white is all staying together.
Right.
But when you crack an egg and it's runny, it's an old egg.
Yeah, like it's be all spill all over the place. Almost like it got water on the inside.
But that's because it's no longer as fresh.
Right.
But you ever notice when you crack open an eggshell, at the rounded part of the shell, when you look inside, it's like a little air pocket.
Right, yeah.
So that's how you also keep them fresh. So when you package eggs, you should package them point side down. So the air pocket stays at the top. But if you do it point side up, then the pockets start to travel up and it loses freshness.
Now I can start doing that because I used to be in the food. Y'all don't laugh at me. I used to be in the food store when I was young, flipping the eggs over because I wanted all of the pointy sides up. So now I know I used to be messing up people's eggs. Sorry, y'all, if I mess up some of y'all eggs.
But it's just those kind of things that a lot of us just don't know. But when you start to get involved, like, okay, how should food be handled? And food handling is very important because you got to survive, you got to eat these things. So, these are the kind of things that we want to educate people on. We have our tours, we talk about that. But eggs are truly a staple. And depending on the breed of hen you have, the Tetra Browns, Isa Browns, those hens, they would give you an egg a day, pretty much. So let's just say that breed is said to give you about 300 eggs a year. So we would just call it an egg a day. But like the white eggs that people are used to seeing usually comes from the leghorn. And those ones are even more prolific. They give more eggs. So, when you talk about commercial farming, you want to have certain breeds that would give you enough. So even though we want to have as many eggs as possible, we also focus on having a high quality product. So when you come to our farm, you always see a chicken or two run, or 12, a few hundred running around. So we have ours separated by different coops. So we can manage how many are out at a given time. Because those animals could also be very destructive.
Yes.
And for those who think pigs are nasty animals, they are not nasty animals. It's the environment you put them in. Because if you see some chickens and some ducks, and we like our poultry, they some nasty animals. It's some nasty animals.
Yeah, chicken's wild. I know that. They're aggressive and they're ready too.
It can be.
Right. So as we get ready to wrap up, could you let my lovely viewers know if they want to schedule tours, what are the usual times, and how they can reach out to you guys to get that done?
All right, so you can reach out to us on our social media platforms. So on Facebook, it's Berkshire Bahamas Farms. TikTok is at Berkshire Bahamas Farms, and Instagram is at Berkshire Bahamas. Our website is www.berkshirebahamasfarms.com. You can reach us on WhatsApp, 242-441-7777. And on our website, we have a tour booking list.
Oh, nice.
So you can go right there and book a tour. But also, those are usually for like smaller groups.
Okay.
But if you have like a larger group, like a summer camp, a school group.
What a larger group? What's the number that would be a larger group for you?
Anywhere between 15 or more.
Okay.
Usually we would cap at about 45, 50, depending on maturity.
Okay.
Because the whole idea is to educate in a controlled manner, because at the end of the day, you're in an environment where you have living animals and that's their home. So you don't want to be running around screaming, making animals uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because one of the main issues we had during that egg shortage, we had to do something called egg days.
Okay, yes.
So that was just
those.
on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We would only allow people to purchase eggs because we had moments where people line off and then they start arguing, getting upset, people blowing their horn, and the animals are getting stressed.
Right.
And when an animal is producing, they want to be comfortable.
Comfortable, yeah, you talked about
then
that.
we started having issues where the eggs were coming out oddly shaped or cracked, and animals were stressed.
Yeah.
Because, you have a customer, I only need 1 dozen. So you go in there, hurry up, lay this egg. I need 1 more egg, and you just back and forth.
Right.
I remember telling the staff, go check again. And then it's like, why y'all in here again?
Right,
And you start getting you start having some issues. So we had to, give them a break and let them produce naturally. And it was an easier flow then too, because that next day when people come, we got a cooler full of eggs.
Right.
Get these out, and that's it for the day. We start again.
I like that.
Yeah.
Good, man. Y'all need to learn, Need to learn from these animals a little bit, like relax yourself, disrupting the balance of things.
Yeah, live in harmony.
Yeah, live in a little bit of harmony, some stewardship, be nice. But thank you so much for stopping on into the podcast. This is an amazing and enlightening conversation. I know you're going to do great things there. You're only just starting. We definitely, Superior Talk, we need to go on a field trip. We can.
Come on, anytime.
Man. I talk to my fellow podcasters, man. I know if I'm going to bring Mix up there, though.
Yeah.
Mix may disrupt everything, but he know how to behave. He know how to behave. Yeah, he know how to behave. So we definitely need to take a tour up there because, like you said, this is something that, and I like that you mentioned stewardship, too. And us, especially saying how we love our Bahama land and things like that, we need to learn how to cultivate it better. Yeah. And we need to get back to producing our own stuff. Now, mind you, I know child of the soil. That's my mother ministry. But I know a thing or two. I know how to plant and water and all of that. But I could dive into the animal thing a little bit too.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many different areas because I just met with a group, a lady from BAMSI and some from Ministry of Agriculture.
Right.
We connected yesterday, and I was saying, y'all was just running these numbers with fertilize this 10, 10, 10, 20, 20. I was like, but what are these numbers?
Mm-hmm.
Because I focus more on livestock. So at the end of the day, it's just what's your area.
Right.
You know, so some people have green thumb, some people put anything in the ground and that
And
works.
it'll grow, yeah.
I mean, I kill some things too. And it's like, I supposed to be a farmer. I can't
Yeah,
get
I
this.
can't even
But
get
you
it.
know what? This is my area. You got this? All right, you take care of that.
Yeah, man. Now we could come together and collaborate a lot more,
For
like you
sure.
said, because, and I also liked how you mentioned about all of us wanting to be 100% ownership of something, especially when we don't understand it. It would be better if we could understand how to collaborate better. But I definitely want to talk to you about that with your Port Authority expertise. I think it goes down to verbiage when it comes to collaborating and people understanding how to properly get into legal agreement with one another so everybody is protected.
Sure. But it sets a precedence of trust.
Yes.
Because look, okay, we're gonna do something, let's put it in writing. Let's make sure this is signed, this is legally binding, everybody has a clear understanding of what it is. So now you're working at the place of, okay, we working towards this, and I gotta focus on my part because I agreed to this.
Right.
And if I veer away from this, now I find myself in
penalties,
jail, right?
yeah.
So I think that's important, but it's also just setting structure. And I think that's what we need. We need to have structure. You know, and we wanna see things be fruitful and to multiply, we got to be able to handle things the right way in our community.
Yes, man. I love that. I love that. Any last words as we get ready to wrap up?
No, I mean, I'm grateful to be here. You know, I feel like I'm able to use these platforms to communicate what's happening in our field and, you know, to try to, you know, grow more and grow together. I think there's so much that we can do as a nation. And it's exciting when you watch it grow from nothing to something and impactful, you know, changing livelihoods. You know, there's so much that could come from it. So
Yeah, man.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you for being here. And thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode. Stay locked in. You never know who's going to be in the chair. You only know if you follow, subscribe, and stay locked in to Superior Talk. Terrance, tell them bye.